A film about a man who could shrink to the size of an ant. And I liked it a whole lot. So needless to say, I wasn't too excited going into this film. Given that every Phase 2 film has been outstanding, you can say I gave it the benefit of the doubt going in. But looking at the cast and the director that Ant-Man had going into the film, I wasn't too excited about it essentially was going to be, considering that I'm not a huge Peyton Reed fan and I haven't really liked anything else that he's done. So that was a huge question mark for me going into the film, was whether or not he was going to be able to deliver Phase 2, if you will, caliber Marvel film, considering that Winter Soldier to me is still an outstanding Marvel film. I still think it's the best one, actually. Ant-Man is a film starring Paul Rudd playing Scott Lang, Michael Douglas playing a retired Hank Pym, and Evangeline Lilly playing Hank Pym's daughter. And there's actually quite a few things that I want to talk about, because I like to do these reviews positive and negative to just try and keep it really simple. Now that it's like a couple weeks after the film has come out, I'm not really too worried about spoiling anything, even though I don't think I'm going to, because there really wasn't a whole lot to spoil besides the very, very last after credit scene, which I'm sure everyone knows about that now. Either way, one thing that I definitely liked about this film was the pacing, which is not something that I guess I usually come out of a film thinking like, oh wow, that film was really well paced. But in this particular film, I do actually believe, considering that Paul Rudd is a comedic actor, I haven't liked a lot of his work. There's a couple Paul Rudd movies that I've liked, but most of his stuff I haven't really been a huge fan of. So I was worried about the film being overly cheesy, way too comedic. I thought there was a perfect usage of one-liners and comedic elements that were thrown into the film from Paul Rudd's character. And I think a lot of that's credit to actually how versatile of an actor Paul Rudd is, which I think me and a lot of other people didn't give him credit for. And also credit it to the writing and definitely Peyton Reed's direction of the film, because I do believe this is a very well directed film as well. Didn't quite like it as much as Winter Soldier, didn't quite like it as much as Guardians of the Galaxy, but I was super happy that it was something that was different. They took a huge risk with it and it ended up paying off because it was an entertaining film. Probably rank it up there. If I had to rank like my top 5, I don't know which order I'd put them in besides the first one, which is still Mad Max. I'd say it's in the top 5 right now for me, going to what will be like August right now. So definitely the casting of Paul Rudd and the direction of Peyton Reed, two big highlights of the film, because I think it ended up paying off. I love Paul Rudd's character. I love Paul Rudd. And that's actually what I'm going to get into next. Now, Paul Rudd's character is essentially, I guess to his detriment to a certain degree, is a character who seems conflicted when we start the film off. He's essentially a thief, and he's getting out of jail as a result of being a thief because he's been caught. But he is just coming out of jail, and he's trying to get on the right path, set himself straight so that way he can try and provide a better life for his daughter, who's now living with his ex-wife and her new husband. So he wants to essentially get on the straight path. He wants to be a straight arrow, and he wants to do right by his daughter, and he wants to provide a better life for himself and his daughter. In order to do that, that requires him to let go of his old life and go out into the real world and find a job, not being a thief. And so that's something that he spends a majority of the beginning of the film doing, is just trying to figure out how can he be the person that his daughter needs him to be, and how can he still provide for her, because it's difficult. He doesn't have a great set of skills, but he does have a very specific good set of skills, and that is he's a really good thief. So obviously we see him kind of fall back into that thieving lifestyle, and he ends up getting caught, and he ends up stealing the Ant-Man suit as a result of Hank Pym essentially letting him do it, which I'm not going to get too much into the plot. But going back to Paul Rudd's character, that's something that I definitely really liked about this film, is that out of all the Marvel films so far, I feel like Paul Rudd's character is probably the most realistic hero that we've gotten thus far. And what I mean by realistic is this is essentially a guy who I feel like is pulled straight from this world and slapped into this film. He's someone that I immediately related to. I know that guy in real life, so it was definitely easy for me to relate to that guy. And so I really like that aspect of Paul Rudd's character playing Scott Lang, is he was just so easy to relate to. I mean, I'm sure coming out of this film, everyone at least knows someone who is like that character who did a lot of bad, and then he gets caught, he does the time, does the punishment, and then he wants to set himself straight. And everyone kind of knows a person that's like that, because I think that's a realistic portrayal of an actual human being. So that's definitely another thing that I really like was Paul Rudd's character. So another big thing I wanted to talk about in this was the action. So once Paul Rudd's character steals the Ant-Man suit, that's when things get really interesting with the action and gets really cool. I enjoyed the action a whole lot in this film. It was really entertaining. I can't think of another film besides like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I know there's like a few Honey, I Shrunk the Kids films, and they're all named like slightly different, like Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. But that's the only thing I can think of that compares compared to the way the action was done in this film, where Paul Rudd's character is able to immediately shrink down to an ant size and then immediately go back into human size. The action was super, super cool in this. And again, a lot of the reason why I like this film, a lot of the reason why I like the action was because it's so different. I haven't seen anything like this pretty much at all. And so it was cool to see something like this. I remember thinking when they said they were doing an Ant-Man film years back, I'm like, how on earth are they going to make this work? I have no idea how this is going to work. Like, this is going to be the cheesiest thing because he's going to be small. And that's his number one attribute, is he's got superhuman strength, but he's able to shrink. How do you do that in a way that is entertaining if he's ant size? But they found a way, and it was really, really cool. It's a combination of him obviously being human size and then shrinking down the ant size. The quick switching, how they did that in the film, how he's able to immediately, quickly, by hitting a button, switch from being an ant all the way up to a human. That was super, super cool. So the action was definitely something that was a really big highlight for me in the film. I enjoyed it a ton, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what they do in the next Ant-Man film and how he plays an intricate part into the Avengers team in the future, because that's a cool power. Like, that's a completely different power. So it's like, how do they do that? And with Josh Whedon no longer directing the Avengers films, I'm very curious to see with this new group of Avengers, who they get in to direct the next Avengers film and how he's going to combine all of these powers together and best utilize all the characters' strengths. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm looking forward to what they do with Ant-Man when he joins the group. And that's pretty much it for like all my big positives. There's a lot more to talk about, but I want to kind of keep this short. There's a few negatives that I have with the film. I talked about the comedy earlier. Comedy was, again, it was good. I enjoyed the way it was implemented. I enjoyed Paul Rudd and comedic elements that he was able to bring into the film, but there still were some points in the film where I'm like, okay, it was funny, not really all that funny, and a lot of that came from Michael Pena. I guess you could say Michael Pena and T.I.'s character. There's a third guy in there, I don't remember what his name is, that followed Paul Rudd's character around throughout the film. They were kind of like his buddies, his sidekicks, but it was more of Michael Pena because Michael Pena got a little more screen time in this. There were a couple times where I'm like, okay, I wish we can get him off camera a little bit more. Obviously, comedy is subjective. It's what I find funny, someone may not find funny at all, and what I don't find funny, someone's going to find hilarious. With comedy, it's more subjective, I think, than anything else. So that's just a little nitpick that I had about the particular comedic elements that they added into the film using Michael Pena's character. I wish that it was a little bit less. But overall, don't get me wrong, I do like Michael Pena. I like Michael Pena a lot. He's great in Fury. I hope to see him in a lot more stuff in the future. I just didn't like how he was a little clowny in this film. Another negative that I'd have with the film would probably be, actually, ironically enough, the length of the film. I actually wanted it to be a little bit longer. When I say a little bit longer, it was actually that final battle with Yellow Jacket that I thought could have been a little bit longer. I felt like that ending battle was just a little rushed. I know I'm probably in the minority in that opinion, but the Yellow Jacket battle I thought was so cool because you had two guys with essentially the same power fighting each other. I wanted to see more of that because I thought that the Ant-Man technology was already implemented so well in the film. I kind of wanted to see them, I wanted to see like an Iron Man from Iron Man 1-esque battle where we kind of had them fighting throughout the city and they were shrinking down the ant size and then going back to human form. I thought that would have been super, super cool to have in there and just maybe take that battle broader, more epic versus it kind of just being in a room. But at the same time, again, I had never seen anything like this before, so I was sucking it all in and it was really, really cool. I wish that battle was a little bit longer. But other than that, yeah, I definitely enjoyed the film. Really, really looking forward to what they do next with Ant-Man. As much as I'm looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it's, I mean, with Marvel and their slate of films over the past, year and a half, every Phase 2 film has essentially knocked it out of the park for me. I've enjoyed every single one 10 times more than I've enjoyed any film from Phase 1 outside of Iron Man 1. With this closing out Phase 2, I'm excited to see what they do with Phase 3 and kind of going into Civil War. So Civil War is obviously going to be huge. That's going to be kind of like a Avengers 2.5, if you will. And with that being said, guys, just keep in mind that all film is subjective, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I'm looking forward to talking with you guys about what you thought of Ant-Man. And if you did like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for weekly reviews and trailer reviews. Pretty much anything movie related that I feel like talking about. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks and see you later.